You hear the word narcissist thrown around all the time, right? But what does that actually look like in our day-to-day lives? Let's forget the dry textbook definitions. Today, we're going to build a practical checklist based on real-world behaviors so you can start to recognize the patterns and understand what's really going on.
You know that feeling? That constant, exhausting tension where you just never know what might set someone off? If that sounds even a little bit familiar, you already know how incredibly confusing and just draining it can be.
And a huge part of the confusion is that the dictionary definition just doesn't line up with reality. I mean, it's one thing to read a term in a book, but it's something else entirely to deal with the messy, frustrating, and frankly contradictory behavior of an actual person. The two just don't match.
So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Create a practical checklist based on real actions. Because being able to see the pattern for what it is, that's the absolute first step toward getting some clarity and starting to take your power back.
All right, so first up, let's talk about the mask. This is the carefully built image they present to the world. It's all about what you see on the surface.
And here's the absolute core of it. There's this huge split between their public and private selves. To the world, they are the most charming, successful, and confident person in the room. But behind closed doors, it's like a switch flips. They become difficult, critical, demanding. That public face is a total performance. The source we're using has a much simpler word for it: phony. And this mask is held up by this insatiable, bottomless need to be seen as the best. They're always fantasizing about unlimited success and power. They gravitate toward high-status people because they want to be associated with the best of everything. It can get to the point where even a simple compliment directed at you becomes a chance for them to jump in, steal the limelight, and make it about them. Everything is designed to keep them at the center of the universe.
So you have to wonder, right? Why go to all this trouble to maintain such an elaborate mask? To answer that, we have to go deeper. We have to look at the empty inner world that it's designed to protect.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. All of that performance on the outside is just a cover. That mask exists to hide a really profound internal fragility, a deep-seated insecurity, and a complete inability to engage in any kind of honest self-reflection.
So this internal world is really built on a few key pillars. First, mistakes are never their fault. The blame is always pointed outward. Second, there's no real self-analysis because that would mean having to face their own insecurities. This leads to this very rigid black or white thinking, where anything nuanced, like your feelings, gets dismissed as just illogical or plain wrong. Now think for a second about vulnerability. You know, that state of showing some tenderness or emotional honesty. For most of us, that's the foundation of any real connection. But for someone wired this way, vulnerability is seen very, very differently.
And this perspective, straight from the source material, says it all. To them, vulnerability isn't a strength, it's a huge weakness. They see it as awkward, something for, and I quote, emotional weaklings. This belief right here is what fuels their constant need for control and that tough, impenetrable exterior.
So, this brings us to probably the most important part of all of this. How does this internal world and external mask actually impact you and your life?
Okay, here's a really powerful formula I want you to remember. Think of it like a decoder ring. It's this: unsolicited advice equals criticism. All that helpful advice they're constantly giving you, whether you asked for it or not, it's not actually about helping. It's almost always a disguised form of criticism, designed to establish their superiority.
And this plays out through a few really common tactics. They'll lie or keep secrets because, for them, truth is just a tool to help them win. They'll use veiled threats, little comments that imply consequences just to keep you in your place. They completely ignore personal boundaries because they truly believe they have the right to define you. And loyalty? Well, it's completely superficial. You're only valuable as long as you're useful to them.
And underpinning all of this is just a staggering set of double standards. The rules for them are completely different than the rules for you. They can lie, but you must be honest. They can scream and rage, but you must stay calm. You have to realize this was never about fairness. It is about entitlement and absolute control. And this transactional nature extends even to how they define love. It has nothing to do with acceptance or patience. In their world, love simply means you conform to their needs and you provide a steady supply of admiration. It's a transaction, not a genuine connection.
The result of all these behaviors, when you put them all together, is that feeling we started with. The source describes it perfectly as a chronic undertow of frustration. It's what leaves you feeling exhausted, confused, and constantly on guard. You're right back to walking on those eggshells.
So, what do you do with this information? This brings us to our final and most important section. Knowledge is your power. This is all about what recognizing this pattern really means for you.
But look, this isn't about seeing one of these traits once in a while. The key here is the frequency and the combination of these behaviors. And the source material actually offers a simple way to gauge the intensity of the pattern you're seeing.
And here it is. This is the critical number. The source suggests that if someone consistently shows 15 or more of these behaviors, it's a powerful indicator that you're dealing with a deeply toxic pattern and that the relationship is on a very unhealthy path. Ultimately, all of this leads back to this one core message. Understanding this pattern isn't really about labeling someone else, it's about empowering yourself. It's about taking that power back and making a conscious choice to say, you know what, I'm going to live in healthiness.
So let's end with this question, because this knowledge isn't passive, it's a call to action. Now that you can see these patterns more clearly, what is one small, manageable boundary you can set to protect your own peace of mind?